kitchen, of the cabin, and around the world, this is Voices from the Solitude, a podcast about the coronavirus and gaming. Today I'm talking to Stephen J. Syrek, and frankly, I have no idea what we're talking about. So, I'm in Berlin with a very close friend of mine, who I haven't seen his face in weeks, and he lives a mere 10 miles away from me across the city. Probably not even 10 miles. Stephen, my first question is, how is the whole quarantine, lockdown, going insane stuff going?
Not insane yet, Ben. As you know, I'm a little bit of an introvert, and when someone threatens me with home isolation, when I'm told I can't go out into the world and see people and mingle with them, when groups of more than two are strictly prohibited, I don't suffer as much as other people do. That said, the rhythms of my life have been upended. That's extremely painful, especially, as you know, if you're a middle-aged man, you have come to wear into the soil a kind of rut that you travel back and forth along. The rut of your life. And you don't, this expression, like you're in a rut? This to me is not negative. Yeah. I like my rut. I have some nice plantings along the edge of my rut. This is where I feel comfortable. I feel safe. I want to be there.
You know what's so wonderful about getting older, and people don't tell you this, the wonderful thing about getting older is even if you move cities and stuff like this, the formation of a rut is a very quick thing. You form a rut very quickly, and then pulling you out of that rut is nigh impossible, but the rut is always comfortable, right?
Yeah, exactly. I'm sick of hearing all this negative talk about ruts and how you're stuck in them. I am not stuck in my rut. I am snuggled in my rut. Well, I was until the late unpleasantness then. Stuck at home is not great. I mean, it's nice to have the option, right? I don't have the option. I have to be here. I go out. There's nowhere to go. I ride my bike around. I mean, I cycle around. I've seen parts of Berlin I haven't seen before. I've seen parts of Berlin that are like a 5-minute bicycle ride from my apartment. I never knew they were there. So I'm kind of exploring the city in a way anew. I can't see you. I can't see my other friends. I can't, operate.
Don't lie to me. You don't have other friends.
I like to think I have other friends. I've gotten to the point in my life where, there's another thing about growing old, right? You don't need quite as many friends.
You don't.
I think when you're young, it's probably a boast that you have a lot of friends. Like, I have all these friends. I know everybody. I'm so popular. Popularity. This is what I'm looking for. The theme of popularity, right? When you're a teenager, popularity seems to be everything. I couldn't even imagine having the kind of energy now that would be required to be popular. Like, what does that mean to be popular? People are calling me up, wanting me around all the time, and requiring me to do things and go places and
to what end? I mean, this is the question. And you look back on your youth, and it's like, to what end is popularity? It's just sort of like, what? So I get to run around and hang out with people most of whom I don't particularly like, and they like me, which is kind of nice and everything, but I don't really get much of value,
Yeah, I like to be liked. Who doesn't? I don't want people to have a bad impression of me. I'm sure some people do. I would rather,
I do.
Pardon?
Sorry?
I would rather go into a situation and come out of it with the other people that I'm with feeling better and feeling positive about me. But that doesn't mean I want them to call me the next day and ask me for something.
Yeah, and the thing is, something's a very broad palette, isn't it? It's something may just be, hey, spend some of your time with me, expend some of your psychic energy on my bullshit, and most of the time you don't really want to do that, do you?
My fund of psychic energy is limited. Aside from being an introvert, it's just people. I think they just want to take a lot of the time. They want something from you. I don't want to sound really cynical.
Well, they want to be entertained, right?
Yeah, they like me, right? Oh, they like me. They like me. being around, which is it's very gratifying for me. But what am I getting out of it? It depends.
Well, the whole idea, isn't it, is that human interaction is this multilateral thing, this bilateral thing, where you give each other something to go home with, to feel happy about, and it's true to some degree, but it is true also. The older you get, the less inclined you are to go through the hurdles you need to go through to make new friends, right? I don't think it's this idea that you don't want new friends. I think it's this notion that, oh, I have to do the awkward fucking 2 months before I actually get to know the person. And so actually you find the older you get, the friends you make tend to be people you connect with very, very quickly, and there's not a lot of effort expended, right?
So do you remember last summer you and I went on an adventure across England, and
Right.
you know we were with each other longer than we'd ever been together before, like every day and night for about a week. You know, alone in the countryside,
Right.
just walking together, camping together, and
Kissing,
talking. I think we got to know each other well.
touching each other's
I
balls,
told you all about my life, my childhood, my
tickling each other's taint.
right. And hello.
Yeah, carry on. I'm listening. You're engrossing me.
Felt like I felt lonely for a second there. I was reliving the experience. Yeah, I mean, I told you everything about myself. I mean, I told you things that I don't tell anybody. You know, like things that went on like years ago that are kind of private, that are kind of secret and painful. I really reached into a part of myself because that's what happens when you're together in that kind of a situation. You become sort of vulnerable. Your guard falls, and you say things you might not ordinarily say because you feel a sense of camaraderie and intimacy, right?
I can't wait. Frankly, I can't wait until the time comes when I can use all of that shit against you. I'm very excited.
I was thinking this at the time. Like, I should not be saying this shit to Ben because he's recording it for later. I mean, you don't seem to remember anything anyone tells you except if it's material you can use against them later. Then you have an eidetic memory. But the point I'm trying to make is I am not going through that again.
Haven't we already planned a trip this summer to do exactly the same bloody thing?
I'm gonna open up to Meeple Pete one day about all this stuff.
Well, you can go off with Meeple Pete. I'm happy to lead the single life if it means that you finally fold into the arms of Meeple Pete.
the warm, moist arms of Meeple Pete.
But I mean, how is it for you having, you've got a very old father who is thousands of miles away, your family that are thousands of miles away. How is it? Is that stressful? Are you able to keep in touch?
Yeah, it's I don't know if stressful is the right word. It's unreal. Yeah, my father is going to turn 80 this year. My mother is already 75. She's in Florida. He's in New Jersey, so he's very close to the epicenter of the pandemic. He's pretty tech savvy, so we stay in touch, FaceTime, we email. We don't talk on the phone a whole lot. I mean, he and I have very similar personalities in that sense. We check in, we text quite a bit. He follows what I'm doing constantly. He has been doing this for years. He can be a bit distant, but in his way, I know that he's like keeping an eye on me, and he cares and he's proud and all that kind of thing. And I don't talk to him about any of this, and it works out well for both of us. My mother is an interesting story. My mother has never owned her own computer, and she has never had Wi-Fi at home. I have been trying to persuade her to get Wi-Fi for 20 years, and not because I'm a wonderful son, but when I go visit her, I can't do anything in her apartment. I can't work. I can't watch. I can't watch my stories on YouTube. She's stubborn. I don't know what to say. She has a computer at work. She has a work email, and that's it. If she's not at work, I can't get in touch with her. She doesn't have a smartphone. I can't text with her. I don't think she's ever sent a text. So finally, the state of Florida locked down, and she was told she couldn't go to work. And she's 75 years old. And I
Right.
called her up, and that's it. I'm retiring. Fuck this. I'm done. And she says, I think I need to get Wi-Fi now because I need to be able to order things, I guess, is what she wanted it for. And she wanted me to help her. I'm like, how am I going to help? I told her, just, find some friends. All of your friends have smartphones. They all have devices. Just go talk to them. Tell them what you need. See if you can figure out from them what would be suitable for you. And she came back to me and said that one of her friends from work showed her an iPad, and the iPad seemed like it would be fine for her. And I've heard that older people do okay using the iPad. And I'm like, look, I'm just going to send you an iPad. Okay, I'm sending you an iPad because it becomes excruciating dealing with my older mother on the phone, trying to explain tech things to her. It's just,
Right.
I'm sending you the iPad. She's like, oh, I don't know, Steven, you can't send me the iPad. It's too expensive. I can't have you do that. But this kind of thing. I'm like, Mom, I have a job. It's fine. I'm an adult. I can send you an iPad. It's not going to kill me.
Can you send me an iPad?
I'm going to get right on that as soon as the podcast is over.
Good.
What are you going to do with it? What are you going to do with an iPad then?
Draw penises?
Just like on the iPad, or are you going to get like drawing software?
Yeah, well, they have like a Apple Paint or whatever, don't they?
So when you order an iPad from the Apple website, you are actually invited to engrave something on the iPad physically for free.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, think about it.
What did you engrave on your mum's iPad?
Nothing. But I got her one in gold. So anyway, I told her, she started crying. I'm like, oh, please don't cry. I told her, please just get internet. Like, you have to get the Wi-Fi yourself. I can't help you with that. Get Wi-Fi, get your neighbor to help you, and let me know how it goes. 2 days ago, I received an email from my mother at gmail.com. That's not literally the email address, by the way. It's not my mother at gmail.com.
Send loads of emails to mymother@gmail.com.
No, don't. Go ahead. I don't care because it's not my mother's email address. It's something else. But, it's like the email address of my mother at gmail. God damn it. Anyway, I received an email from my mother from her own account that she must have sent from her iPad on her Wi-Fi for the first time ever in my life. I'm 42 years old. I work in tech. It's 2020, and it took the coronavirus to persuade my mother to get internet so she could finally send me an email from an iPad I had to buy her. So that's.
I mean, you didn't have to buy it. You were showing your magnanimity and generosity, but still.
I mean,
point still stands.
Yeah, in a very, very modest way, honestly. But I'm glad she has it. I mean, it makes her life easier and my life easier for her to have it. Otherwise, my mother-in-law is she lives in New York City, and she also has a house in Western Massachusetts, and she's at the house in Massachusetts.
And she's currently keeping my computer hostage.
Well, yeah. The computer's in the apartment in New York, and she is paranoid about going back to New York. She encountered a bear on her property the other day.
Wow, really?
Yeah, that was exciting. She had some friends staying with her in the apartment, and they were so terrified by the bear, they went back to New York because they would rather confront the virus, which you cannot see, than deal with a bear, which you can and is not really that dangerous.
Well, apparently, if you just run at the bear and go, "Fuck off, bear,"
you give it
then it's fine.
You give it a picnic.
The bear goes. Huh?
You give it a picnic basket.
This is true. What do you think? Now, this is a serious question here. What do you think the relationship was between Yogi Bear and Boo Boo? Is there anything suspicious there? Should we be reporting Yogi to social services?
I mean, I don't see why we have to characterize it like that. I mean, you're aware of the sort of like the
I'm just asking the question, Steve. I'm not saying anything. I'm not leveling accusations, but I
mean, Ben, you know how I'm a student of the classics, right? I mean, how would the Greeks have responded to this situation?
Yeah, well, this is the point. There's a different moral compass from 1970s Hanna-Barbera cartoons to ancient Greek sodomy.
I think Yogi was guiding Boo Boo along.
Well, that's why he's called Yogi, obviously.
Yep, he was guiding him along, in the sort of the ways of picnic baskets,
Theft.
right? Whatever. I mean, they're a little bit like. Do you think they're like a little bit working class, Yogi and Boo Boo?
Well, I mean, they're
What do they represent?
hobos, aren't they? They're pastoral forest hobos, Sylvan hobos.
Yeah, I mean, Yogi, he wore a tie to work, didn't he?
Right, exactly. But so you don't think there's anything, sinister about Yogi?
If there is, it's part of a kind of negotiated relationship with a long and storied tradition that they're both getting.
Can Boo Boo really negotiate? Can Boo Boo give consent? I'm not sure.
You know what the problem is with the 21st century, Ben? We have.
I don't.
I'm going to tell you what the problem is. The problem is we have become a culture in which all sexual relationships must be characterized as exploitative.
But what if they are exploitative?
I mean, you can probably find some reason why they could be if you wanted to, but it.
No, but I mean, there obviously there are obviously some. Well, the point is, I don't think it is appropriate for Yogi to be having a sexual relationship with Boo Boo.
Why?
Well, Boo Boo's like a kid, isn't he?
Do we have any idea how old Boo Boo is?
Can you imagine Scooby and Scrappy in a relationship? I mean, no one's happy with that, no?
I mean, I can imagine it. I'm not saying I approve of it, but why is my approval important in this situation?
Well, it's society's approval, isn't it?
Do I stand in for society here? I mean, what is society? Which comes first, society or me? I mean, I derive my opinions from society.
Well, you're a good, solid New Jersey American middle class man. I mean, if anyone's an everyman, it's you. No.
I mean, what's Boo Boo doing hanging out with Yogi?
Well, this is the point. We don't know, do we? I mean, you shouldn't be slinging accusations at an upstanding citizen like Yogi. He's just helping. He might just be helping a young bear survive. I mean, who's to say that there's anything untoward going on?
He's feeding him. He's teaching him. He's guarding him, protecting him. And
unless picnic basket is a horrific euphemism, of course.
Well, I hadn't thought about that. What could it be a euphemism for?
Well, use your imagination. You're a Shakespearean scholar. He used a couple of euphemisms.
Yeah, good. I mean, I don't know. I mean, what goes into a picnic basket? Like, why is it a picnic basket specifically that Yogi's always after?
Well, sandwiches, isn't it? Sandwiches.
The thing is, we don't know what's in the picnic basket, right? The picnic basket,
soda.
The picnic basket itself represents possibility, right? It's like Schrodinger's cat, right? We don't know if the cat is alive or dead. We don't know if the picnic basket is empty or full. Like, I don't want a picnic basket. I want what's in the picnic basket. I want the sandwiches. I want what else would you put in a picnic basket? Fruit.
But the thing is, you're asserting here. You're asserting here that a picnic basket is intrinsically useless, and I don't buy that. I think you can do things with a wicker picnic basket. You can build stuff from it. You can wear it as a tasty yet dainty hat.
I'm just saying that the picnic basket itself is actually the absence of fulfillment, because the fulfillment is what goes into the basket.
Do you ever see Yogi and Boo Boo pulling shit out of the picnic basket? They seem very avaricious about the concept of the picnic basket, not what's in the picnic basket.
Do we not see them looking like very full and satisfied after having eaten the contents of the picnic basket?
Yeah, but do we see them eating the contents of the picnic basket? I'm not sure we do. It might just be the American dream of ownership that confers that satisfaction.
I actually hope we don't, because now I'm thinking that this works well with my theory. All right, so there's the basket itself, and then there's the satiety, the satiation.
Satiation is a better word.
Yeah, which one do you prefer? Satiation?
Satiation.
Satiation after having consumed the contents of the basket. So we don't see the actual consumption. The consumption itself is not the point. The enjoyment is not the point.
Well, that's base and that's animalistic. We don't want to see that.
No, but it's this feeling afterward of having been satisfied.
We don't see the rutting when we pinch the baby's cheek, do we?
The what?
The rutting, Steve.
The rutting?
Yeah.
What is rutting?
That's what deers do. It's an animalistic euphemism for the sex act.
Oh, that kind of rutting. You said we don't see the rutting when. Oh, I see. I see. We don't see the rutting
When we pinch the baby's cheek, we don't see that, do we?
I mean, this is exactly my point. What else would you say about
Top
the
three
inhabitants of Jellystone National Park?
top 3 picnic basket fillings. Given the option, you can take 3 things in your picnic basket for Yogi and Boo Boo to chow down on after they've stole it. And Officer Dibble. No, that was Top Cat, wasn't it? Who's Ranger? What was the Ranger called?
I don't remember. We could Google it.
Answers on a postcard, please. Top 3 picnic basket fillings. Steve.
Okay, not including beverages, let's say. Otherwise, we're just going to say beer and nothing else.
Yeah, not including beverages.
Cold chicken wings.
Oh, right. Okay, nice.
I think you should take a turn.
Samosas.
Watermelon cubes.
Cubes? That's interesting. Ham, cheese, and piccalilli sandwiches.
And what?
Piccalilli.
What's that?
It's a sort of relish made from mustard and pickles. It's absolutely astonishing.
Okay. Potato salad.
Oh. Cold jalapeno poppers.
Oh, that's interesting.
Huh?
It goes pretty well.
Huh?
Goes pretty well with the chicken wings.
Right.
I want to explain the watermelon cubes because you started a bit.
Go on, explain them. Are they the ones that you inject the vodka in?
I suppose you could. So the thing is, normally on a picnic, you'd probably just bring an entire watermelon with you and then cut it up and serve it. This is what normal people would do. I don't like sticky things personally, and cutting up a watermelon, you get the juice all over your hands. It gets on your clothes. It's impossible to eat the watermelon in a dignified way. When you bite into the slices are never the right size, and they just gets all over your face. I'm not into this. I'm fine with people who are into it. I'm not into it. I prefer eating my watermelon in cube form with a fork, so I don't have to touch it.
Oh, is that it? Sorry. I was expecting a further elaboration.
No, that's it.
You eat your watermelon with a fork.
I mean, I prefer eating any kind of sticky fruit with a fork if I can. I don't like touching sticky things.
Do you eat pizza with a knife and a fork?
No. That's an abomination. Who would do such a thing?
There are people, right? I mean,
other than both the mayor of New York City and the president of the United States, who would do such a thing?
So I was speaking to Isaac Shalev today, and I was saying that I would like to go to Chicago, and he said, and I think he said something that you might find agreeable. That he said he found Chicago the definition of second rate. How do you feel about that statement?
Well, however I feel about the sentiment, I have to admire the sharpness of it. He's from Connecticut, right?
That's right.
Yeah, I mean, takes one to know one, I suppose.
Certainly not short of health insurance, I assume. It bubbles out of the ground in Connecticut. I hear health insurance.
I can't really speak to that. I don't find Connecticut to be a very nice place personally. I mean, there are bits of it that are nice, but I don't. Whatever. I'm not going to sit here and defend Connecticut. Especially if he's slagging off Chicago. What doesn't he like about Chicago? Did he elaborate?
That's what he said. It's just the definition of second rate, he said.
Yeah, but in what way?
I don't know. I guess he's like you. He's one of these New York junkies. And so he's like, oh yeah, Chicago thinks it's New York. And it isn't. It's Chicago. I mean, I don't know enough to talk about it, but...
I mean, I'm not like a big fan of Chicago, so I'm not going to say that he's wrong. I'm also from New York, and
you're not from New York. You're from New Jersey. It's a different thing, isn't it?
You can't let it go, can you? I lived in New York for 10 years.
Well, it's like those dickheads who live 50 miles from London and go, "Where are you from?" "Oh, I'm from London." I mean, no, you're not. You're not from London. Oh, you're from Basingstoke.
My mother was born in Brooklyn. My father lives 8 miles from New York City, and I spent half my life there growing up.
Okay.
For 10 years before moving to Berlin. This is not good enough for you?
Where were you born?
New Jersey.
Where did you live the majority of your teenage years up until sort of, I don't know, 18, 19?
New Jersey.
All right. Oh, so you're from New York then, are you?
You know, some people haven't heard of New Jersey, so I'm from like the New York metropolitan area. It's like an accident of history that New Jersey is even its own state.
You know, I've flown over Milan, so I'm from Milan.
Oh, you know,
now.
You're so fucking
Buongiorno.
You're so fucking cultured that you know about the whole New York, New Jersey thing, Ben. We're all really impressed. Yeah, make the New Jersey jokes. It's great. Sopranos. What exit? Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, whatever. Okay, I'm from New Jersey. Fine.
I've read that book from Tom Wolfe. I know what I'm talking about.
The point is, I probably have the same attitude as Isaac Shalev. Like, New York City is New York City. I mean, you want second rate, go to Philadelphia. That's probably like maybe third rate, actually. I don't want to like insult second rate cities. People love Chicago. I will never love Chicago. It is an interesting place to visit. It's got beautiful architecture, but it also has like extreme amounts of poverty, and from my experience, a kind of racial tension that I just have never experienced before. I mean, you experience racial tension everywhere in the United States, but in Chicago, it was, to me, coming from the Northeast, it was just somehow worse. And Chicago was like more run down and had more poverty, and just, it wasn't the kind of place that I could ever imagine myself living. But you know what? I've only been there a couple times to visit friends, and I'm sure that you have listeners who are from Chicago and they love Chicago and they would love to tell me why I'm wrong. Since I'm from New York, as I've just explained, I have no capability to even listen to these arguments, nor would I care. They would be right to try to make them.
But aren't the Blues Brothers the best?
I don't know.
You know what I mean?
Pardon?
The Blues Brothers. Aren't the Blues Brothers the best?
What do you mean?
Well, that's Chicago, isn't it?
I mean, yeah, this is like I don't know. I mean, I saw the Blues Brothers for the first time when I was in college, and I thought it was kind of quaint. You know, it's quaint. It's entertaining, but it's like watching another world, though. I mean, you've always said that you really want to visit Chicago, and you want to visit Chicago even more than New York. And why is that?
Yeah. Why?
Yeah.
Well, it seems to me that Chicago is the place, really, where the really good theatre happens in America. Not in New York, not this Broadway shit. It's in Chicago where the really quality theatre comes from. You know, it's the home of David Mamet, it's the home of William H. Macy and Alec Baldwin, all of that sort of stuff. And, you know,
it's all in New York. All the actors in New York. David Mamet's in New York. William H. Macy. They have their acting school in New York. David Mamet owns
the... but that's not where they came from. That's not the spirit.
So what?
Chicago is where good theatre happens. New York is where commercial theatre happens.
No, the New York theatre scene is not all Broadway. There is lots of great theatre in New York. I wouldn't hold New York up against London necessarily, but a lot of the best theater from London ends up going to New York. I do not think it makes it to Chicago. There's tons going on in New York. You have no idea. It's a universe of theater. I never go to Broadway. I'm not into it, but tons of off-Broadway theater, off-Broadway, little independent productions. I mean, you know, ultimately you have to go to both places and make up your own mind and decide for yourself. One of my favorite historians, Tony Judt, he once said, Chicago is the quintessential American city, and then New York City is not really an American city. He regarded New York as more of like a world city or a European-style city, but the real American city is Chicago. And since America itself is kind of the definition of a second-rate country, I suppose Chicago is the best representative of America. Boom.
Boom. So to finish this rambling catastrophe of a podcast, what are you going to do when the restrictions are lifted? What are you really looking forward to?
I'm really looking forward to getting out into nature again. I think you and I have been talking about some hikes. I really would like to see more of the countryside around Berlin. Ride my bike a little bit further out into the wilderness.
Well, I found my map for the trip from the source of the spray to Berlin today, and I've been planning my trip.
Yeah, I mean, essentially spending more time with you from the sound of it. I've been concentrating more on like such simpler things, right? Because we just can't do much more than the daily life stuff. And, I look forward to having a beer outside in Berlin in the summer, which is just, the most brilliant thing that you can do.
Right.
Summer here is fantastic. And if we have to miss most of it, it's going to be tragic. I look forward to board games again, but I think that's obvious, right? I don't know. I mean, what do you look forward to? I mean, I want to say I look forward to being able to travel into nature with people and not have to worry about social distancing. I do look forward to that.
Right. I just want to go bloody camping again. The last couple of weeks would have been the first time I would have gone camping this year because the weather has been so great. And I have great equipment, so when it gets cold at night, I'm still warm. And, I can cycle 100 kilometers into the wilderness. I can pitch my tent. I can have a couple of beers. I can just get out of the fog that is the city and just spend a couple of days just being somewhere where my cares are 100 kilometers away. And I haven't been able to do that because the thing with living in the city in the winter is you become sort of institutionalized. Even though the city is big, it becomes like a huge prison with walls that you can't really breach. And I'm really looking forward to getting out of the city because I'm not by nature a city dweller. It's just that I have no skills. So I have to be here in a place where charlatans hire charlatans.
Yeah, I mean, I wish I had something more interesting. I mean, it's like coming out of the winter when we come out of this pandemic, and I don't miss doing city things much. I don't miss traveling as much as I thought I would. Seeing people, getting out into nature. I didn't want to tell you this. So I've had this kind of standing mission to get myself one of these little small gardens, like the Schlebergarten.
Oh, very nice, an allotment, yeah.
Yeah, so for people who don't know, the Germans have this tradition of having, if you don't own many Germans live in apartments in the city and they don't have a garden. And as like a substitute for not having a garden, they might have like a little tiny garden house in an allotment. There'll be like 50 or 100 of them all together. And you get a little house and you get a little piece of land. And I think you're obligated to grow vegetables or something there.
Right.
It's just a place where you can sort of go and hang out and drink a beer and grow your carrots. This is exactly the kind of thing that a middle-aged man needs. I mean, sign me up.
Absolutely.
I think they are hard to get. So I was speaking to my German teacher on Wednesday, and she told me, because I mentioned to her, I was riding my bike around, and I rode through one of these areas where they have a bunch of Schlebergarten. I'm like, I really want one of these things. You have no idea how badly I want one of these. And she's like, oh, yeah, I've got a friend. They're trying to get rid of – they've got one. They're trying to get rid of it. And it's down in Bestensee, like south of Berlin in the countryside, next to a lake, next to a forest. It's a corner spot, so you're not like directly next to anybody else. She showed me photos. It just looked perfect. But perfect.
How much was she charging?
Well, I asked her, how much do these things cost? And she said, a few €1,000. Like, doesn't seem like a lot to own a little house in Brandenburg, No. I was very excited by the prospect, but I knew it was probably too good to be true. And she got back to me yesterday and said, turns out the association has reallocated it to somebody internally, was the language she used. But the mission continues. I will end up with one of these, Ben, and I hope that you'll come around and help me plant some carrots and have a beer, and maybe play some board games on the terrace.
I will sit in a deck chair, I will watch you work, and I will drink and abuse. If you want to support content like this, you can go to patreon.com/5G4D. Thank you for listening. Stay safe, and if you can, stay at home.